The third part of that trifecta were also in action, the Springboks. I mean,
managing to get the win in Murrayfield, which you were not that confident.
I wasn't touting. I mean, just
like
you tout history a lot, and I was just looking at recent history and just the degree to which Scotland do not take losses in Murrayfield. I loved this game. I thought it was a lot of fun. They're my two favourite non-Irish sides in World Rugby. There was some, especially early doors, those 2 tries for 7-all were cracking. It was cracking stuff. Like there was some lovely Hugh Jones touches and everything else. It was a really fun
test
game.
Match,
but the Springboks, that's a hell of a shift put in on the Scots in Murrayfield, and the degree to which, like again, as they did to England and Twickenham, it's just the degree to which they were physically stronger than the Scots was massive, and the degree to which they could win contacts and just make no mistake, they're bloody good, and Razzie has them firing. And it's almost like a year ago I would be having the conversation about how good the Saffas are in sort of optimism that they could get to this peak, and now I'm having the conversation and gee whiz, they're doing it and they're good, they're
good already, and now they're a year out, and it's just going to be marked improvement, I think, because they've always had the players. This is it, like, and it's always been very frustrating to watch a rudderless South Africa play poorly and lose so many games. Like the last time they came to Dublin, they lost 38-3. And it's like, what is going on in the world that a South African team can come to Dublin and ship 38 points and only score 3, which they kicked in the second half at 14-0 down.
Totally.
It was just painful to watch all of that. But Razzie seems to have them rediscovering what it means to be a Springbok, and that was a problem we had cited before, where like their club teams play a very chaotic brand of rugby that is a lot of high octane pacey stuff, but a lot of speculative defence, a lot of plays taken off, a lot of cheap scores, and it's like that can't bleed into the Springbok mentality, which it did. Whereas like the Springboks have to be a different institution, a different entity built on physicality, and
totally
they thoroughly are.
He did it basically with one, like there was a couple of key things. Like for the June tour of England, they were still defensively very loose, and it was all about basically redrafting Faf de Klerk and picking Andre Pollard, as they should have done. It was basically, and Veli LaRue also redrafted, and it was basically just like, as much as we've loved our Andres Coetzee for their solidity and our Lionel Mapus for charging, like this is like Ross Cronje and Yankees obviously in the halfbacks were their own issue, but this is the height of our talents. These are truly our best players, and they were given liberties to really play and really go after England, especially when they went 24-3 down, and they just opened them up. And that first test, it was just an immaculate display of glorious running rugby, and it was just an evidence to everyone that holy crap, these boys can play. Then there was some stuttering performances as things started to change for them, and their defence was still not ideal. And then it was that game in Wellington where they implemented that just really aggressive, really super uber aggressive blitz system with a load of individual reads, specifically from 13. It was originally Nathaniel Am, and now it's Jesse Creel with Am's injury. Am is going to come back in next year. He's very good as well, and it was originally that. It's now it's they've basically stuck with that philosophy ever since that game, because it worked for them in that game, and they fire out of the line. They really do. They come flying out. They try and shut off the outside, and look to make plays and make hits and make reads. And it's less about shape and more about making hits and making reads. A lot of the time they try and number up, but then it's about individuals, and it's been a good way to galvanise them. Like as much as you think there are going to be ways to pick that apart going forward, and you saw some evidence of that with the Scots, because Finn Russell's like, you think you're going to cut off the outside on me, I'll skip 17 men with my left hand.
Flicky pass. Here comes Finn pass.
I love a good flick pass, he says. He's only delighted to see someone shooting out on the outside, and like there are weaknesses there. But as you point out, where the defence was and where the defence is domestically, it's everything that they've needed, as well as the personnel men. Like Vermeulen back in there is so huge
as well. There's very few Uzer Kasims appearing in the jersey now, and just a few kind of passenger jersey feeling. Like at one point they started with wingers that were Scussan and Raymond Rule. They started a rugby championship that way.
Yeah.
And it's like a little compilation vid of Raymond Rule's all of his missed tackles off restarts, of which there were many. And it was just
that was insane.
Like
that game was insane.
No, it's great to see just some ridiculous kind of errors being rectified in that front, and just plugging holes and cleaning house is essentially what his job is.
Of talent, like McPimpy came in this year and he's actually got injured, but in the game that he played, he looked phenomenal, a real threat. And then you have obviously Dianti and Nkosi are very, very solid operators on the wing, and then a wild Cheslin to throw into the mix off the bench,
which is a good option.
Is only a good thing. And no, listen, they've got just talent to burn, a very solid defense, a scrummager in Kitsoff who is a maniac. He's a monster. I mean, Nell is the saviour of the Scottish scrum. He has come in and solidified things, and Kitsoff just destroyed him. And that is
the other thing
massive.
They have is super powerful locks.
Yeah.
Which helps with their scrummagers, helps even their mediocre scrummagers in the front row appear much stronger because they have a rotation of monster locks.
I'm looking forward to seeing Kitsoff and Furlong go at it, because I think Kitsoff is probably the best loose head scrummager in the world. Obviously we don't get to see Ireland South Africa possibly until the quarterfinal of the World Cup next year, in fact definitely not until then. But it's a fascinating matchup when it happens, because Kitsoff is probably in this tour solidified the number one jersey, where the beast I think is going to be 17 at come World Cup
which
time.
is a serious that's
good,
like,
bad thing, like
there's danger all over them now, and the All Blacks will be ruining the fact that they've got their act together this year.
And as far as weaknesses are concerned for them, there are a few. They do shoot up in defence. There are holes to be found. Like for that Hugh Jones, it was actually Horn who got it, but it was all about Hugh Jones that try at the start of the game when they did get outside them. Scotland as well are elite in attacking. Well, that's all they need is a sniff, and they just tore them asunder. It was a glorious try to watch. The line out, the All Blacks picked them apart this year, and they do have to watch that. The England picked them apart as well.
No, that is a problem.
Is an issue.
Marks has a few wobbles in his game in the big moments, which
overthrows or whatever. This November.
Which is a bit crazy considering they have 3 locks on the pitch as well. Like I don't know why they're doing that if not for line out stability.
And Khaleesi, who's a very capable operator as well. So,
it seems a bit weird. All right,
and that's a fixable area. And the other area is just they've removed the tendency to drift from them. What Razzie has yet to remove is just something that you never see out of Ireland anymore, because of the Joe Schmidt punishment factor. It's just guys taking plays off.
It's true.
And that Scottish line-out try, that was the clever move. But like, you look at Kitsoff goes and shoots on the first man. He sees him shaping to do it, and he charges at the first man. And then Wilco Lowe is just looking for a lift, and it's his man, Wilco Lowe's man, who just runs in behind him as he's looking for a lift. And it's like, you're not looking. And when your whole defense is based around making reads, you have to be looking.
I know. They've been switched on the whole time, and they just consistently aren't.
On average, a try a game, I would say,
out of just
falling asleep. Falling asleep.
The amount of tries that I've seen out of the Springboks, and it's a bit disconcerting. It's more than just 1 or 2 slight errors. We're talking trends, and we're talking bad habits in teams, and that's definitely one of the Springboks. It's so repeatedly
they were comfortable
true.
in that game. They were 7, and then it was just a draw, just suddenly like that. But great cojones to see at home then from Pollard and the boys, and Pollard is great.
Pollard is the most contact friendly 10 I know, and I know Johnny Sexton is class physical 10 as well, but nothing on Pollard. Pollard is basically half centre, half 10.
Yes, he is.
And like, he's not quite the quarterback that Johnny is. Like, occasionally you see him throw a pass that's the wrong option, and they get caught behind the gain line. But it's less of an issue for the Springboks
because Faf is their general.
And it's like it's kind of a game off 9 because their forwards are so big, because it's a Springbok game. It's
that's why, like, as much as I liked Papier's performance, I think Faf is so key for them when he comes in, because he's like, he just dictates everything and so gloriously. He's such a mad thing, and he's a great man for picking the right options, and he just takes that burden off Pollard.
But what I really like about Pollard, and I think it gives a lot to their game, because you see a lot of these 10s. I say George Ford is a good example of someone who it happens a lot to, but they're like, it's a typical mold of 10 where they're kind of sit a little bit deep sometimes when they're not winning contacts and just chip it on. And if they get isolated behind the gain line, there's nothing for them to do other than kind of get mushed. Pollard never and get mushed. He actually tucks his head and tries to smash props out of the way.
He has the opposite problem sometimes where he's taking too much contact.
Yeah, this is it. Like, he literally misses some space out wide because he wants to go in for the soft shoulder, which, fair play to him, he minds the football and he scores some tries that way. So it's like I don't have any issues with him being the contact at all. It's very much, it's what you want from a Springbok 10. It's like what do you want this team to be about, and then what do you want in your 10 to reflect that. And it's like Pollard.
The only thing you need, and listen, Yankees and Pollard has been something that's
been interesting off the bench.
It has,
because Pollard is playing like 12 anyway sometimes. So
it gives Yankees looks to have a lot more freedom about him off the bench as well. He's actually making some good passes. He's not being as deep as all that, and because if he stands too deep, he'll be behind Pollard, who just refused to get behind him.
Indeed, well, this is why it's a good balance, because he does stand too deep.
I think it's an ideal balance when you don't have a Faf.
Yeah,
it's fine to bring that in, because Pollard definitely needs that extra distributor. I mean, he's great there when there's Villy and there's Faf, but like by himself, I think there's that you can isolate him, and then they can just look a little flat.
I'd suspect in an Ireland kind of like overanalyzing thing, they can probably give him certain looks where he'll want to go into. You can probably shoot on the outside. Looks like it's cut off, so you're forcing him back in there. But oh no,
you have a jackal there.
There's Joe.
That's certainly a nice idea for a coach to target the Springboks. I think it's what Wales did to Ireland in 2011, basically only to their back rowers instead of their 10. Actually, no, they did it to Rog as well. They shot up outside Rog, forced him to look for things, and then attacked the football. That's the kind of thing that you would look to do to Pollard, but they have a lot of bulk, and they have a lot of other options in there, the Springboks, and so they're feeling pretty confident.
I'd say they are.
As far as the Scots are concerned, the usual madness, the degree to which they were outclassed is gonna, like, I know it was a 6-point game in the end, but it's gonna hurt them a bit. Like they can mix it with anyone in the backfield, they can mix it with anyone off chaos ball, they can mix it with anyone when they get outside them. They need more strings to their bow now. You know, they have some good breakdown players, but they're weak up like compared to the elite, which I'm talking about. Ireland, New Zealand, South Africa, and then Wales and England flirt with it and leave it sometimes. But
France are not as far removed as they are letting on.
They're getting there. But in terms of Scotland entering that bracket, there are things missing. I mean, as much as we love Pollard, like, he's going to take it into the contact, and yet still off first phase off a line out, he does a dummy and then runs through a massive hole. What the hell is that?
Scotland midfield defensively, question marks. And their selection this weekend, more question marks. But we'll get onto that probably towards the end of the podcast. But
surely it is towards the end of the podcast.
I'd say so. We should probably wrap it up soon enough, actually. But was it like we thoroughly enjoyed that game, the Scotland South Africa one. It was a great spectacle. Fair play to South Africa for getting the win. Probably a timely enough. You're right in saying it will hurt Scotland, that loss, just that evidence that it had only
been since I think 2016 or 2017. It had only been the All Blacks who had won in Murrayfield, and that was a nice thing. And then not only did they lose, but they were kind of manhandled a little bit. And then but for that trick play and a couple of other moments, it probably could have been more. But the Springboks saw it home comfortably, more comfortable than the 6-point scoreline reflects. And they need a bit more versatility all over the park, in attack, in defence. There are work-ons, and it seems to me like we used to admire that Scotland are our original favourite sons on this podcast because of the way they approach the game, and Gregor is still on that cloud. He's just doubling down and doubling down. We'll go with more crazy attacking play. And listen, I'd love to see it come off for them. I fear for them though. They're in that malaise with Ireland, the Springboks, and the All Blacks in the pools. So they're going to play Ireland in the pool, and then they're going to play one of South Africa and the All Blacks in the quarterfinal, and it's just going to be a bloody hard time for them.
It's true. True. Their game against Japan is going to be some spectacle though. They're both pacey teams.
I think they'll
win, but I think they'll concede a few tries as well. I think it'll be like a good fun game.
54-21,
nice,
that kind of thing.